we came here and we had the wish to build a beautiful garden, and beautiful gardens in Europe and in America too often have names as a place. And so we were trying to think of what to call this place that we were going to turn into a beautiful garden, though it was full of weeds and locusts and poison ivy and brambles. And we were sitting on a porch that is no longer here on the south side of the house, and having our evening drink of wine at the end of the day, celebrating another day completed. And Daniel looked out and he said, "I love those long shadows being cast across the pasture." And we both said, "That's it. That's the name." And the shadows are being cast by the mature, we have hackberry and oaks and what else?
Lindens, maples.
Yes. And so
Beeches.
different shapes of shadows being cast.
We were garden designers to begin with, and I had been working at the Chicago Botanic Gardens, and that's how Charlotte and I met, through plants. And so for us, making garden ornaments was an avocation and a practical product that we could use, rather than just being business people that wanted to make a commodity.
The other thing that we could see, though, was that we had a big desire to have a beautiful, grand garden. And of course, we didn't have any way to do it except by buying a place that was big like this and very rundown and transforming it bit by bit. And in the very beginning, we were just picking up garbage that previous people here had thought was okay to leave in the woods.
Yes, and fortunately, when we first moved down here from Evanston, we were naive enough to where we didn't even, the thought of failure never even, not initially anyway, we just first came down here and just started building things, and just had the wherewithal to do that thanks to Charlotte's, the sale of her home in Evanston. And so for the first 3 years, as we were learning how to make patterns and molds, we really had to come down here and learn from scratch.
And the other thing that was so good, though Daniel has left it out, is that he worked in a food processing factory as a young man in Hoopeston, Illinois. And he learned how factories work, how they are laid out. Raw materials come in on one end.
The finished product goes out the other.
And so he was able to plan where to do the work, how to do it, how to organize it, though it wasn't immediate.
No.
And
it's still
it's still a work in progress.
It still is. Yes, it's 20 years has gotten us to this point, and the next 20 years we'd like to have a new, more modern facility to make things, and just depending on the economy.
Are you surprised at your success thus far?
Surprised? That's a good question.
I'm not really surprised. Exhausted.
Happy.
Happy.
And the work hasn't stopped because of the downturn in the economy. We have to work just as hard as we had in the beginning to promote ourselves again. Our production is under control. We make beautiful pieces, but we have to really, really focus on how to get the word out about what we have.
Just the other day, Charlotte got an email from
the gardener
at the American Embassy in Armenia. And about 15 years ago, we were specified to supply 20-some prairie-style planters to the American Embassy in Armenia. And for some reason now they need one more, either to replace one that was damaged or they're expanding. So it is not, I wouldn't say worldwide, but Armenia, the Mideast, Dubai, Qatar.
Japan.
Some in Japan, but really coast to coast in the United States. You know, the United States is a fascinating market, and there's plenty of work right here, but it is fun and challenging when we do have the opportunity to ship something overseas. And so it's fun to be here in Southern Illinois, bringing money to this township and this county from coast to coast and overseas.
And having 20 employees.
Yeah.
it's hard to not, when we ship the planters out, the planters are like our babies, and it's hard to not know where they're going and to see. And so every time, you know, I ship something out, you know, I kind of mention to, well, if you have some photographs, if you could send, you know, some pictures. And we were just talking about how if I go on a trip, then I will take, you know, some of the addresses of where we ship planters, and I'll go by and make some images and take some photographs to just see how people install things.
Well, I hope it's our love of beautiful garden ornaments that shines through. And for us, beauty is represented by several principles, and those were written down by Vitruvius, an architect in Rome 2,000 years ago, that they have to have beauty, they have to have endurance, they have to have symmetry, they have to be available, they have to be durable. What, there's one more. Well, anyway.
Repose.
Or like a sense of peacefulness, that they belong where they are, that they're not out of place. And when we design something, like when somebody asks us for something and they send us a rough sketch, we try to modify that sketch so it goes within the realm of what we can make, because this is dry cast limestone, and so it has to fit into the molds. And it is also dry cast limestone that has to be made so that it holds up. It has to have a shape that is not too extreme, like some of Frank Lloyd Wright's designs are very, very horizontal. But that's why also many of his designs have fallen apart there.
Gravity is demanding.
Right.
And so we think about all those things when we try to incorporate somebody's rough sketch of what, a designer's rough sketch of what they're thinking of for a building or for a garden, to make it something that will be durable.
And the one other thing that people do see, even in the photographs or by moonlight, is just the texture of these and the way light plays with, especially the natural colored, the light colored ones. There's a sparkle to them from the sand that's in them. And even by moonlight, it's wonderful to walk around the inventory in the evening by a full moon. It's just, they sparkle.
Huh.
It's delightful.
Very local, little quarry here, and it's the same vein of limestone that goes all the way up over to Evansville and up to Bloomington and
Bedford, Indiana.
And so, like, we have some pieces cut out of Bedford limestone, and it matches the limestone that we use as our aggregate from this local little quarry here. But what we also add is a beautiful white silica sand, which makes it, gives it that glistening look.
Effervescence almost.
Yes.
We, being total novices when we started, every step from making the first planter to shipping the first planter, and it wasn't that long ago.
We shipped it just strapped to a pallet. And then the trucking company, and that was Niederbrock in Steelville, they sent it back saying, you guys have to package it better.
Yeah, I had taken it up there in our little 16-foot trailer,
Yeah.
and just had it shrunk wrapped down, or stretch wrapped down to a pallet. And he let me go through his dumpster to get cardboard so we could make a shift, do a makeshift carton for it.
Right.
Which was funny, and then they were so nice and so helpful. And now, of course, we have beautiful triple wall cartons with our names on them. But yeah, so the first ones, and of course, when we finally, after 3 years, we were here almost 3 years before we had anything to sell.
Okay.
Because we were learning how to make patterns, learning how to make molds.
How to make the mix.
How to make the mix. And then when we had something to sell and ship, we called the big trucking companies, and of course, the zip code's not even in their database.
Oh, yeah.
And they said, will you bring it to us in Carbondale? Right. So we did drive one over there, and they weren't going to give us a discount off the regular rate, which we knew we had to have, or we wouldn't have any profit.
Yes. So it was fascinating just to learn every step.
Oh, I bet.
And it's a good education, a good business and a good business education.
To go from probably the 3 planters that they were making then to now with the, I mean, it's into the thousands of numbers of designs that we have. is it's incredible. You have to appreciate and respect the love that Charlotte and Daniel have put into the business, and then also the employees. I mean, they really take care of everyone.
And why do you think we were doing this? Why did we ever do it? Well, we were challenged once in England when we were touring England, still looking for garden ornaments made by other people, English crafts companies, including terracotta and dry cast limestone and beautiful lead garden ornaments. And we were invited to a lunch at the home of some very serious gardeners. Sure. And so the owner of the place looked at us, raised his glass, and he said, "It's very well and good for us here in England that you Americans come here to buy our garden ornaments," and smiled. And then he said, "But we can't understand why the Americans can't make their own." And that's what we did. We looked at each other just like you're looking at us. And we said, we knew we had to do it.
Yes.
And so suddenly we had a mission, and we didn't even know we were going to have a mission. We didn't know we were going to be entrepreneurs. We were just going to be dealers for other people making garden ornaments. And we did. We had no idea what a big challenge
it was going to be.
Wow.
We have, with everybody that's here, we have a lot of pride amongst ourselves that we have a good product, an amazing product, and it's beautiful. And in comparison, I think also to some of our, I guess our competition, I hate to say competition, but in comparison, our designs seem more, there seems like there's more love there, and they're more romantic and more beautiful, whereas some seem more static and not, I don't know, you can just, and maybe it's just because I'm here, but you can just tell the love that's in everything from the design to how it's plaqued and then how it's shipped and hopefully how it's installed. And that's the key too, to make sure that the people who are installing it are very informed as to, how it needs to look, and we want to uphold, that quality from start to finish.
A focal point that's really valuable, that's going to gain value in time.
Because the planters are so beautiful, I mean, they just would enhance almost anywhere they would be.
We're making art here, we think.